Welcome, everyone. I'm Marla Miller from marlamiller.com, and I'm launching a new author interview program called 21st Century Authors Talk to Marla Miller. For those of you who have been following me, for a while, I have been doing these kinds of interviews for 20 years. And I first started out when Google TV. I don't know if any of you remember, but Google TV, they had a great platform. And I interviewed, several really cool authors on it, including Jane Smiley and several others. And then they just overnight it disappeared. And I've had several since. The last one that I had was about 21st century authors, how they're selling in this very complicated reality that we have. Sure, we have more opportunity to sell, but man, there's so many more writers out there trying to do exactly what you're trying to do. And I didn't find that show to be satisfying because it led me away from the story that authors have to tell about their own road to publication. Not so much whether they've gone the traditional route or the indie route or anything in between, including hybrid, which I've done as well. But for many authors in the 21st century, this is not our first rodeo. Many of us come from other professions. And in fact, I think really most of the writers that I know very well through the conferences that I teach at and workshops that I offer, most have their foundation in another profession. And they segue to the writing life for the reason that, or at least the reason that I did is because I was a psychiatric nurse practitioner, as many of you might know. Again, if you have followed me, and it really was burnout, that made me rethink my path when I was just about to hit midlife. And midlife is a really interesting developmental time for us to hit. And so I had my three little kids, and I had always written from the time I was little. I just didn't grow up in an environment where mom and dad encouraged me to write. And so I went into nursing and mental health. And after about 21 years, I discovered that I was, a freelance writer because I got a gig that I wasn't even looking for. It was offered to me. And so there I went. Um, and so then I decided to recraft this interview format to talk to authors who are on their road to publication, but it's, the second go round. They have had other career pathways that they have followed. And the first author in this series that I'm just delighted to introduce you to is Julie Dillamuth, and she is Dr. Julie Dillamuth. She is, get this, I mean, I think this is so cool. She has a PhD in geography, and she writes for little kids, and I mean little kids. One of her books, her toddler book, has received several awards. She's going to tell us about it. And her latest book, Camilla and the Fall Festival, is climbing up the charts. She is. I'll let her talk to you about who publishes her. I believe it's a small press, but here's what's really fascinating, and many of us have these stories to tell. Her stories are about spatial relationships that little kids are developing. And so her stories help them. And when I asked her, when we did a interview, had a pre-interview telephone call, I asked her why, what drew you to that uh, in your writing? And she said, because these are the kind of books that I wish I had when I was little. And when she said that, it resonated for me so much because I've always been spatially challenged. Let's just put it that way. And with that, let me just do a very short read from her website, which is juliedillamuth.com. Uh, Julie is an award-winning author with a PhD in geography. Her spatial thinking picture books inspire kids to get outside, explore, draw, and tell stories with maps. Her best-selling picture book for toddlers, Loving Comfort, a toddler weaning story, is available in 5 languages. Her feature screenplays are emotionally resonant stories about women that inspire as much as they entertain. And I didn't include that in addition to being a storyteller and a PhD in geography, she's a screenwriter and a poet. Welcome, Julie, to 21st
Thank
Century
you.
Authors Talk to Me, Marla Miller. I'm delighted to have
Yay.
you on.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be spending more time with you. I want to tell people though how we met because for those who might not know, I teach at the Santa Barbara Writers Conference, Southern California Writers Conference, have for many years. And Julie was in one of my workshops. And I happened to go to the Santa Barbara Writers Conference Facebook page because I was looking for someone to help me publish a novel that is coming out very soon, Deadly Little Secrets. And I won't go into the backstory of that, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to try doing this on my own. And so I posted something on Facebook, and lo and behold, I got an email from Julie who said that she had been to one of my workshops, and what I didn't know about her, frankly, I didn't remember, but I do a lot of these, is that that girl knows her way around tech as well. And so she's been helping me, and I really, really appreciate it. Julie, let's go back a little bit, if we can. How long have you been writing for
I,
publication?
yeah, I have been writing seriously since 2009.
Okay.
The very end of the year 2009 is when I decided to get serious about a writing career in picture books. And that was after, I mean, do you want sort of the story behind that?
As long as it's not real long, because we know our readers like, yeah, well, we're so programmed in social media to grab it and go. And so
Right.
a truncated version would be great.
Yeah, well, I had an idea for a story, and I'd always been a frustrated writer throughout my
Hmm.
20s, and I wanted to, I had this like need to write, but I never could get anything finished. I had like little bits of stories or vignettes or ideas, but I never went anywhere with it. And then I had this idea for a picture book, and it was like beginning, middle, end. It was a whole story. It was rhyming. It was super fun, and I was sort of like, aha, maybe this is the genre for me.
Yeah.
And I explored that a little bit more, and then it kind of clicked in, and I was off and running.
And did you
And
want
of
to
course, and
publish?
thinking,
Go
yes,
ahead.
yeah, and I thought I was going to be, oh, I'll take a year to get my first book out, and then, big reality check. That's not the way it works. But I started taking classes on how to write for kids, and I started doing research on the industry. What do I need, like, what's querying about, what the whole, process is. So it actually took me 5 years to get my first contract with Imagination Press for my
Okay.
first picture book. In between, I did some magazine writing, but just lots of querying, 82 rejections, the whole deal.
Well, but you know what? In 21st century publishing, Julie, your story is not that usual anymore. It used to be. It sounds to me like you
Mhm.
did what those of us who have been trained in traditional publishing did. You queried.
Yeah.
You queried
Yeah.
82 agents. I've done it. I've done it more than 3 times. And that's what I tell, if anyone wants to be published in traditional, that's what they have to do. And so it took you not 1 year, but 5 years.
Yeah.
And did that let you know just how serious a writer you were because you didn't give up?
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I'd helped because I had heard from other writers who were successful with several published books that it was Lisa Wheeler in a workshop that she did, and she had over 100 rejections, she told
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, if she could deal with that and look where she is now, then certainly I can try to aim for 100 and then at that point reevaluate or, see what's going on. And so I knew that I I really wanted to do this and I really wanted to see my books out there. And so I don't know, I was just kind of determined, tenacious, and not ready to give up. I continually tried to improve my stories, so I continued to take workshops and classes. And I
Yeah.
figured, if I'm trying to get better and better, and I'm, out there like hitting the ground, doing the querying, I'm just going to exhaust all the possibilities until something hits. And luckily, I found Imagination Press, who really believed in what I was doing with the spatial cognition and the, stories about with maps in them that were about problem solving and some social emotional learning they really got on board with my goals around that, and they've published 6 books for me, so thus far.
I'm sure that they appreciated what I appreciated when I learned about your storytelling. It's fresh. I mean, it's a niche
Thank
that is
you.
not filled with a whole lot of
Yeah,
books about that, and there's a
right.
need for it. So good for them. When you can you talk just a little bit about your querying of Imagination Press, what that was like, just for some writers who might be interested in who are writing children's and might be interested in knowing a bit more about that press.
Right. So they are an imprint of the American Psychological Association. They're a
Ah,
nonprofit. So pretty much anything that has to do with psychology and kids is like they're open to. They used to have, when I was querying, their list was mostly a lot of clinical issues. So like sort of
hmm.
like self-help books for kids, or like helping kids cope with so whether it was a diagnosis or with like divorce in the family or death in the family. And so at first I was like, I'm not sure I fit with their list. But when I looked at their mission statement, then it made sense. And since then they have mindfulness, they have, they've expanded their range of the kinds of books that they have. And so, yeah, it's really kind of broadly about psychology, the brain, the mind, cognition. And so that's where my books fit in. Maybe that's why I was so tenacious, because I knew that this was a type of book that wasn't already out there very much. I mean,
Yep,
there are books for kids about how to make maps, but mine is like how to use maps for problems. Like, why would you want to make a map? Or like, why would a kid reading want to make a map, right? Because when I was growing up, the maps were like on the classroom wall, and they were
exactly.
these big, huge pull down things, and
Hmm.
some professional map maker made that. And in my graduate work, I learned that like making drawings, like getting that's like spatial relationships between different objects and between yourself and objects in space, that is super important in all kinds of problem solving, just daily things that we do. We don't even think about it in a lot of cases. But when you get into like maps that are more abstract, or like more, things that it doesn't come so intuitively, then we need a little teaching and training. And so, I really wanted to do something that was about practical aspects of maps, not just how to draw one, but why you would want to draw one, or, inspire kids to start that kind of drawing, which I knew was good for their brains.
And one of the reasons, and I told you this, but I'll tell our audience, one of the reasons why this fascinates me so much is because I have been directionally challenged my whole life. And I
Mm.
mean that
Me
sincerely.
too. Me
Yeah,
too.
I really have been. And it has
Yeah.
caused me great stress,
Mm.
and actually caused my children great stress because they'd be in the car with me.
Oh,
I moved to California. This wasn't my I knew Chicago was a square backward, it was
mm.
easy to navigate. California, Southern California was not. And we didn't have what we have today to help us. I don't
Right.
know what
That's
I would
right.
do without Siri. I mean, and Google
Mhm.
Map. I mean, how would I get around? And I get around just fine. And so
Yeah.
when I was little, these kinds of books would have helped me. And I think that for that reason, if any of you out there listening to this have small kids, grandkids, the holidays are coming up. This would
Yeah.
be, I mean, really, these would be cool books. You need to check out her website
And the age
because,
range is age range is 4 to 8 generally.
yeah.
Three-year-olds get into it too, but like the 4 to 8 range is sort of the target
Okay. And what
audience.
about illustrating? Do they provide the illustrator for you, or do you do it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
editor provides the
So
illustrator.
that's
Yeah.
very traditional. One
Yeah.
of the things that you were saying as I was listening to you, Julie, I think that, quite frankly, one of the reasons why I hope that this show kind of has legs is because I want to get to the young writers out there who are not doing the work. Uh, they're just not, they're going on Reddit, and I mean, I'm on the sites.
Mm,
And I love working with young people. I frankly they're high on my list. I really enjoy their company.
hmm.
Um, but they don't put in they haven't put in the work because they don't know the work. They don't know the process
Mm,
that you learned, even though you didn't start publishing until the 21st century.
yeah.
You learn the steps. And for anyone out there who thinks that just because you queried one or two agents, as I just read on my Reddit site yesterday, that, and then he said, screw it, I'm going to self-publish.
Mm,
Fine, self-publish. I just self-published myself. But please do it after you
yeah.
have, I mean, if you really have something that you want to say and you think that it's of value to a wide audience, at least go down that road. And if you don't know that road, then how can you go down it? And so I'm hoping that at least some people will appreciate that as you get older, and I might get in trouble for this, but having writing as a second career is, I think, beneficial in many ways.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly one of them is that because I don't know if you felt this way, but when I got into writing, I mean, I was very successful in psych nursing. I really was. I mean, I just was, and I could have stayed. And but when I got into writing, I first took the courses like you did. I mean, I was at UCI for a couple of years. When my husband would come home, I would take off because the kids were little, and so I learned the craft, or as much of the craft as I could. But then I started going to writers' conferences, and
Mm,
boy, what a difference they make.
yeah.
Because you're hanging out with industry insiders for sometimes it's 3 days, sometimes it's a full week.
Mhm.
Um, and I know from those experiences that those of us who want to become writers, we really see it as a very glamorous kind of, starlit profession. And it can be for the 1%,
Right.
right?
Right.
But to get to
Don't say
that
it's not.
level, it just requires so much hard work
And
and,
luck. I mean, I
and
think,
luck.
it's, yeah.
Amen. And luck. And I will say in 21st century reality money, you've got to make investments. Of course, I
Mhm.
did in the 20th. I mean, I was published by Simon and Schuster, and I can't tell you how much money I put into marketing my books. I
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have, let's just say, serious discussions with my husband about the amount
Mm.
of money that I was spending on it, because I had to, because
Yeah.
even the
There's
big
so,
houses
right.
don't
There's
do
so
it.
many books out there, and how do you
Yeah.
stand out? How do you get people's attention? Yeah,
And
that's
and
always,
so I think that when you enter this profession in midlife, you've already accomplished things. You've already
yeah.
climbed mountains,
Hmm.
really. You have success. You've got a PhD.
Yeah.
Um, you've got life experience. And I don't want to sound like a woman who has this hair color, but I am a woman who has this hair color. And I got to tell you that the advice that old folks gave me when I was a youngster and thought I knew better, there's a lot of truth in it. There's no shortcut if you want to be a successful writer. And the first thing that you have to do is really study and learn the craft. And you've done that.
Yeah.
And you're doing that. What's your next project? Oh, talk about screenwriting, because not only is Julie an author of children's books, picture books, but she's a screenwriter and she's a poet. And we talked just a
Mhm.
little bit about screenwriting, if you
Yeah.
would.
So this is 5 or 6 years ago now. I was about 10 years into my picture book career and ready for a new challenge,
Hmm.
ready to kind of go in a different direction. I had always wanted to write screenplays, like back in my 20s. And again, I didn't have any ideas. I had no idea. And I was so shy and self-conscious back then that there's no way I would have taken a creative writing class where I had to like share my work, read my work.
Yeah.
That was before we had online classes. And so I was just kind of stuck. And then, so I just put that aside. And then, then 5 or 6 years ago, I was ready. And I was actually going to adapt one of my picture books into a feature film. That was kind of my first project. Then I got an idea for another project. So suddenly, like, I had ideas coming. And, and again, I took classes. So I
Hmm.
actually ended up getting a certificate in screenwriting from Santa Barbara City College.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, which was great. I took film studies classes and then the three series of screenwriting.
Interesting.
And
I used to
and I
teach there.
oh, okay. And I found
Yeah.
out that so many of the storytelling skills I learned from picture book writing applied to any kind of writing, which sounds like kind of a no-brainer, but like it was an aha moment for me. And it really,
Exactly.
yeah, it boosted my confidence. Like, oh, I can write in other genres. I need to figure out the format, the conventions of the genre, the expectations. But that I enjoy a learning curve like that
Yeah, I do
and
too.
another industry to figure out how to get into this industry, which
Hmm.
is even more difficult than paper books than books. But it's
Indeed, it is.
but it's fun, and again, it's also the visual component. I realize that even with poetry, so picture books is pictures, illustrations in the text, where the illustrations tell half the story, and then movies, motion pictures. And so at first, because I was like, I've got picture books and screenplays for adults and poetry, like how like this seems so far ranging, but really they're all kind of tied together with that visual element.
And what's interesting in what you just said, Julie, is that had you not gone out and sought more and collected more data, more information about the field that you wanted to explore and make inroads into, you wouldn't have known any of that. You've
Right.
got to get out there. You've got to
Yeah.
get out there.
Yeah,
And
and it's so
not,
easy because so many
I
people have
know,
blogs, have podcasts, right? You can
right.
really get the insider information that you need to be strategic
Yeah,
because, you don't have an entire lifetime. You have to be strategic to know what's gonna, move the needle and get you on your way.
and as you said several minutes ago, and a little bit of luck,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
right?
and the right, because it's mostly hard work. It's mostly like sticking with it, but the bestseller list kind of people, a lot of that it's I've read books that aren't bestsellers that I think should be bestsellers, but maybe they haven't caught the attention of, they haven't gotten on this list or that list or whatever. Or they didn't get the marketing boost that a different book did. There's so many factors out there in the marketplace that are beyond your control as an author, I think,
Absolutely.
that, you just have to,
I'm thinking about two imprints that I wonder, with your screenwriting acumen, I wonder if you have considered at least contacting, and that's Jessica Parker. I never watched her show, but she's iconic.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of the
Her press, she's got her own press.
okay, yeah, I know and a lot of these celebrities now, women celebrities who are tired of the parts where
That's
they're
right.
not challenged, they're not strong characters, they're not lead characters. They've made their own production companies, their own imprints in order to get stories like that out there, which I love, I appreciate, and I'm really happy that because they have the resources, right,
Sure.
to do that, where the marketplace or the gatekeepers tend to say, oh, well, that's not like audiences don't want that, which I feel is not true.
Well,
And
I'm going to
so,
encourage you. There's another one besides Sarah Jessica Parker. That's it. Thank you. Is Hello Sunshine, Reese
yes,
Witherspoon's production
yes,
company.
I love all the things that they're
Because
doing. The
if,
book
well, if
club,
you have a screenplay for your children's book, I'd I'd knock on that door.
yes, and I love their like all their book club selections.
Yeah,
I've read a lot of those,
it
love
can't
that.
hurt.
Yeah,
It can't hurt.
yeah.
We're going to wrap this up. I've just enjoyed this so much. Any
Yeah.
last words that you want to offer our audience about you, about your work, about what you're doing next, about maybe even how you're selling, how you're gearing up for the holiday season with your books? It's all
Yeah,
yours.
gosh. One little nugget or something. Well, yeah, so the new book just came out, Camille and the Fall Festival, and
Yeah.
so I'm promoting that. And that, I really love it. It comes out of it's about my wild boar character Camille who loves to make maps. And she like the fall festival is her favorite time of year. And she looks forward to everything being just like last year, which was me, like the holiday season. I wanted to be just like last year, to have this vision in my head of how it
Yeah.
had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, and it never lived up to that expectation. And then at the end, I was always like, well, that was disappointing. So, and then as an adult, I'm like, what was up with that? So, I explore a lot of my own issues, and I think we all do, right?
We
As
all
writers,
do.
we explore these things, these questions we have, or
Absolutely.
these issues. And so for Camila, the fall festival goes completely sideways. This huge windstorm like ruins everything, and then she's got to kind of so coping with change is a theme of all the Camila books. But how do you like what is it about the traditions and holiday that makes it what it is kind of what the book explores. So the importance of traditions, the food,
Lovely.
the community, the sense of community. And so by the end, Camila has some insights into all that. I won't give away the ending.
Don't give away the ending, but it
But
made me think of is a parent reading that book to a little one. It could
mhm.
be really a springboard for them sharing their own
Yeah.
memories of when they were little and how, one
Mhm.
Christmas, I mean, I have several of those where
Mhm.
one Christmas it just all went to Haiti. It was like, what? What? I mean, I still remember it. I was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7, but
Mhm.
your stories would generate that kind of discussion between
Yeah.
moms, dads, grandmas, and grandpas, and their kids. So that's another
Yeah.
benefit of not only reading your books but purchasing them for the holiday season.
Right. And I have activities and reading comprehension questions. So like these discussion
Cool.
questions in the back of the book, activities like have your child start a new tradition. And it could be something super simple, but just kind of getting into that sense of, what is a tradition and why is it important and how does it make us feel and all the things.
And
Uh,
then one last thing, because I'm always thinking about where you can get this book. Do you have it just fell out of my head.
well, you can buy the book anywhere books are sold.
Thank you.
If they don't have it, a bookstore can order it. You can buy direct from Imagination Press on their
Okay.
website, and they offer free shipping.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, and then on my website, I have some different. I have the publisher link. I've got an Amazon link, a bookshop link. So wherever you like to buy books, you can find it, and
I
or
know
your
what I was
library. Also, if you're not gonna,
cool.
because we all have plenty to spend on and not all that much to spend, but your library. So if your library doesn't have it, you can request it. And
And you should.
they usually everyone who I've heard has done that has their library has gotten it because there's sort of the educational value to it,
Mhm.
and the fun and engaging side of it. So, it's a book that libraries
What
do.
about schools? Have you contacted, my last question, have you contacted schools to get your books in pre-K and kindergartens?
Yeah, I've done some school visits, yeah,
Good,
and have been
good.
well received. Yeah, so that's always
Book
fun.
signings?
Yeah, I've done some book
Good.
signings, although those aren't as, they don't translate as well just because you never know who's going to show up and
I was thinking
the
of book
timing
signings
of
at
it. And
schools.
oh, at schools, yeah, I did one. One was really well organized here in
I
Santa
know.
Barbara. That was at Peabody School, and
Yeah.
and then all the second graders wanted my autograph, and that was the
Yep.
coolest thing to just be asked by like 30 second graders like for my autograph. So
If a school loves your book, and this is for all authors, because I worked in a close association with a school who got authors to the if a school loves your book, they will bend over backwards to not only make sure that there's plenty there, but that the line is long from parents and kids, students
mhm.
purchasing it. So with that, I'm going to end this conversation that I've enjoyed so much. Thank you,
Yeah,
Julie.
thank
Um,
you.
give us your website again, and so
Okay,
that
it's
and the
Julie
cat
Dillon.
doesn't come with it.
I know I've got this is our
Okay.
new little kitty. She just jumped off my lap. JulieDillemith.com. So
Nice.
JulieDillemmuth.com.
Cool.
And all the info is there. I have some free read aloud videos of all my books on that website that
Oh,
Imagination
wonderful.
Press produced. They have a story time video series on YouTube, and then I've embedded them or I've linked them into my website. So you can
Wonderful.
kind of preview all the books that way if you like.
Which I
And
love. And your point about people having, limited, some people, resources are a bit spotty right now. And
yeah,
so previewing books, I think, is just a lovely,
yeah,
some people don't like it, but I like it
yeah, me
because
too.
there's nothing worse than buying a book that you think you're going to love and then you got to return it because
Hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
thanks again. And for
Thank
those
you,
of you,
Marla.
my pleasure. For those of you who might be interested in 21st Century Authors Talk to Marla Miller, contact me through 3m@marlamiller.com or marketingthemuse@gmail.com or marlamiller.com. And I'm going to be back pretty soon. I will launch this on all of my platforms, Substack, Facebook, yada, yada. Not TikTok because they don't like long videos, but and until the next time, be well, keep writing, and support your public libraries.